The bird had not moved from the crib rail in 4 hours. Everyone thought it was being protective. It wasn't protecting the baby from anything outside. It was alerting them to something inside. Kestrel was a 7-year-old Caique parrot. Small, fearless, with the specific intensity of a bird who decides things and then does them. He had been in the family since before 2-month-old baby Eden arrived, and he had reorganized his entire daily routine around her crib within the first week. He sat on the rail. He watched. He made occasional sounds that the family had learned to classify as his watching sounds. Not alarm, not greeting, not conversation. Something in between. For 4 hours on a Thursday, he did not move from the rail. Eden's father, Marcus, checked on her twice. She was sleeping. He went back to work in the next room. He came back to check again at the 2-hour mark. Kestrel had not moved. Eden was still sleeping. Marcus said, "You're being weird today." Kestrel looked at him. At the 4-hour mark, Eden's mother Simone came home from errands. She walked into the nursery. Kestrel was on the rail. The room smelled slightly off, something she couldn't identify. Sweet, faintly chemical. She picked up Eden. Eden's color was wrong. Not dramatically, not the grey Simone had been warned about in infant health classes, but off. A pallor that was different from normal sleeping pallor. Her lips were slightly dry. Her hands were cool. Simone called the pediatric line immediately. Subscribe now before the next finding. Because what the nurse practitioner said when Simone described Kestrel's 4-hour vigil on the crib rail and the faint chemical smell, and what they found when the gas company arrived, is what Marcus has told everyone who has ever questioned whether their bird watches their baby too closely. The gas company found a microfracture in the fitting behind the nursery wall, a slow, natural gas leak, insufficient to trigger an alarm, but sufficient to have been accumulating in the enclosed nursery for most of the day. The sweet, slightly chemical smell Simone noticed on entering was a threshold-level accumulation. Eden's pallor and cool extremities were consistent with mild, prolonged gas exposure. The attending pediatrician, Dr. Solis, said she needed immediate fresh air and monitoring. The exposure was not at a critical level. She recovered fully within 4 hours. She said, "What brought you in?" Simone said, "The bird hadn't moved from the crib rail for 4 hours, and the room smelled wrong." Dr. Solis said, "Caique parrots have a highly developed olfactory sensitivity. They detect volatile organic compounds and gas-like chemical signatures at concentrations far below human threshold." He was on the rail because he could smell something wrong in that room. She said, 4 hours of stationary vigil is not normal bird behavior. He was alerting. You came home and walked into the room and smelled the threshold. He had been smelling it since morning. Has your bird ever stayed in one position near your baby for an unusually long time and turned out to have a reason? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you're in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never asked for anything in return. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Eden is 10 weeks old and healthy. The fitting has been replaced. The nursery is clear. Kestrel is back on the crib rail. His watching sounds have returned to their usual cadence. Not 4 continuous hours of stillness, but the regular monitoring of a bird who has decided this is his post. Marcus no longer says, "You're being weird today." He says, "What do you smell?" Next, the golden who slept beside the newborn every night, and what the family noticed when the dog refused one specific night